Welcome back all, Dad's from Arduino Techniques. So up this week I've got a very quick, cool little Arduino project which is basically using an Arduino Uno. You can use a Nano or something smaller if that's what you want to do. And it's going to simulate an old style flicker of a colour television from Dr. Jeff Bunzer, so thank you for him for supplying this sketch. So if you want to add a little bit of nostalgia and some really nice detail to your model railway or model railroad, this is the place to be, and I'll show you step by step how you do it. What I'll try to do, I'll try to explain the sketch the best of my ability and show you why it's working the way it's working. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start looking at what we have here. So in effect, the way this is going to work, we're going to have three LEDs, so a red, a green, and a blue, connected to our Arduino, which in this case will be an Arduino Uno. So these LEDs will obviously simulate the color display on an old television. Also, we'll be using a control pin, which I'll explain later down in the video, to turn on the effect on and off. The script that we'll be using is pretty straightforward, but it creates really neat effects. So just alright, so let's jump into the code here. We've got the Arduino IDE open up here. This first thing we'll look at, we'll notice we need to define the pins at the top. So you can sort of see up the top here, we're going to be using pins 11, sorry, let me start again. We're going to be using digital pins 12, 11 and 10 for the green. We'll be using the digital pins 12, 11 and 10 for the red, green and blue LEDs respectively. So that's how we define them up the top of the sketch here. We also have to define some sort of delay time. So in this case, it's 150 milliseconds. So this is going to simulate the flicker, the flicker of the old television. So you can have a play around with this up and down to your liking till you get the effect that you're after. So now let's talk about the control pin. So you can see on line 8 here of our code, we'll be using analog pin number 14. And that corresponds to, so this pin lets us turn the TV effect on and off based on whether the ground is connected to the ground or not. So if the ground is pulled low, it's when it's going to turn the effect off. All right, so the next part of the code from lines 12 to 18, which is what they call the void setup. In this setup function, we will set the three LED pins as outputs and initialize them as initially off. So when we'll power up the Arduino, we want them off unless we pull the ground to high, which then starts as we spoke before. We also set the ground pin as an input with a pull-up resistor, meaning it's usually high unless we connect it to ground. So that's what I was just sort of briefly explaining there. So from lines 20 to 26 effectively, this is where it loops. So moving on, the main loop is where the magic really happens. Each LED is controlled by the TV tuning function, which determines if the LED should be turned on and off based on some sort of randomness. So what we talk about the randomness is lines 27 and beyond. So in the TV tuning function, we check the state of the control pin. If the control pin is low, meaning it's connected to ground when everything is off. Otherwise, when we turn the LEDs on and off randomly with a percentage chance based on the value passed to the function. So that's obviously reasonably wordy. So the randomness gives that classic flickering type effect. Each LED has a different probability built in of being on at any given time, which mixes the colors and creates the effect that we all knew as children. Well, I did anyway in my... All right, so that's a very, very brief overview on how this sketch may work. So what we'll do, we'll go over to the Workbench quickly and I'll show you what it's going to look like in the real world and a very, very quick mock-up of how it might look in a house looking through the front window. But before we do that, we'll get a quick little word from my sponsor, PCBWay.com. PCBWay offers a variety of services ranging from PCB production and assembly to 3D printing, CNC machining, in a variety of materials. If you do not have the correct tools for the job, you can quickly upload your Gerber file for a PCB and press enter and get a quote in no time at all. Then select your material, finish and other post-processing customization like PCB assembly, where all the components are added. If you are new to PCBs, their professional review team will review your file and notify you once they are good to be manufactured. This makes PCBWay a good option for your projects. Check out their awesome services in the link below and their offer to my viewers who support this channel. Alright, as you can see, the 3 LEDs there, the red on the top, the green in the middle, and the blue down the bottom. Now, it's very hard to find a true blue, I think, for the RGB colours. At my local electronics store, they just had the clearer ones, which is more of an icy blue than a true blue. So, not probably quite getting the effect that I want, but I'm still reasonably happy with it. So you can sort of see the glow there, and some of the issues I'm going to have is the directional lighting. So please comment below if you've got any way we might be able to get around that. So the next few scenes we got here, that's a Kibri house for my model railway, so just a single level house. So I've masked it up the best I can. It's just sitting on top of the LEDs there, so you can see some light bleed underneath. So now here's the same house that I was describing before, but just a little less light, just to show it a little bit more. So as you can see, I think the randomness is quite nice, but I think the flicker effect on this, I need to have a play around with it. I think it's just going just a little bit too quickly, so I don't want it to be more strobe-like, like it's looking there, but more of a realistic, subtle change between the two. So I'm just playing with the external light there just to try to show you the best I can. So the best thing is you need to, with this effect, you really need to mask up the house properly. The window to the right, you can see when I go down, that's actually a separate room, is showing off a little bit of light bleed through it. So it's just something you need to be mindful of using these types of effects. Thanks for watching. That's the end of the video. So like all videos, I have 3 questions. So we'll go with question number 1. Is this the sort of Arduino sketch that you may use? Are you using something very similar? What I'm most interested in, as I sort of explained in the video, is obviously bringing the 3 LEDs together. I'm more interested in how you're going to diffuse that light. I think the light, maybe for the one I did, is just a little bit too directional. So please put in the comments below. Number two, if there's any way I can make this better, please also comment in the comment section below. And number 3, if there's any glaring errors that I've made, particularly in explaining the sketch, please let me know and I'll right my wrongs the best of my abilities. So if you also want to reach out to me personally, I've got my email address in the email below. I send out emails periodically to my email list. If you want to be a part of that, please email me and I'll put you onto the email list. Also, if you want to consider becoming a patron of the channel, every little bit counts towards the cost of putting a YouTube channel together, and I thank those who have already dipped into their pockets and helped me out with my journey along the way. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.